Hello, this is the second part of how to draw Lewis structures for polyatomic ions and molecules. For part 2, we'll look at a scholarship question from 2023. It asks us to draw Lewis structures for these three ions, Zr F5-, F6-2-, and F7-3-. Same as before, when we see an ion, we'll put a square bracket around it and put the charge outside. We'll do this first so we don't forget. Right, let's take a look at our first ion, Zr F5-. First, we have to determine what's the central atom, which is Zr. Okay, Zr is in group 4, so it has 4 valence electrons. And F is in group 17, so it has 7 valence electrons. There are 5 of them, so we multiply by 5. This step we're doing is to count the number of valence electrons there are in the structure Zr F5-. Now we've done 4 from the Zr, 5 times 7 from the 5 fluorine atoms. We also have to add 1 more because of the -1 charge. So we do +1, and this adds up to 40. And now let's draw our structure for Zr F5-. So it's 5 Fs around the central Zr atom with the 3 lone pairs on each of the F atoms. And now let's take a look if we need to draw any lone pairs onto the central Zr atom. In our structure, we have 5 fluorine atoms, and each fluorine atom has 8 valence electrons, and the reason is mentioned in the previous video. So take a look if you need. Oh, sorry, what did I do? And yep, now we have 5 times 8, which is 40. Now, the number of valence electrons on our structure is the same as the actual structure, Zr F5-. So therefore, we don't need to add any more lone pairs onto the central Zr atom, and hence this structure is correct. Let's move on to the next one. Again, it's an ion, so we put square brackets with the charge, and this time is 2-. And then we calculate the well, we know the central atom is Zr. It's good to determine that first, and then let's count the number of valence electrons that we should be getting in that in this ion. So again, 4 from Zr because Zr is in group 4. F is in group 17, so we do 7 times 6 plus 2 because of the 2- charge. This gives us, should be 48. And let's draw our structure. So as we step into scholarship, it is important that we learn the axial position and equatorial position. The axial position is the two that's above and below the Zr, and the equatorial position is in the same plane as Zr. That's like the Earth's equator, like it goes around the Zr horizontally. And we'll look through the axial position and equatorial positions later on. Now we have drawn our 4, 6 F atoms. We'll draw on the 3 lone pairs on each of the F. And now we count the number of valence electrons we have on our drawn structure to determine if we need to add any more lone pairs onto Zr. So let's count it up. We have, what the hell? We have 6 fluorine atoms, and each has 8 valence electrons, which gives us 48 valence electrons in total. This number is also the same as our predicted number, so therefore we don't need to add any more valence electrons onto the central Zr atom. and hence this structure is also correct. Let's now move on to our last polyatomic ion, ZrF7 3-. Again, square brackets with charge 3- this time. Central atom is Zr. And now let's count up the number of valence electrons for the structure. We have 4 plus 7 times 7 plus 3, which is 56. And now let's draw the structure. Again, there are only 2 species or atoms on the equatorial position, one up and one down, and then the rest goes on the equatorial positions. In this case, there are 5 equatorial positions, and each F has 6 6 unbounded electrons, so 3 lone pairs. I'm not going to draw them in because there's just not enough space, but you can draw it out if you want. I'll draw one as an example. Now we have 7 fluorine atoms, and each has 8 valence electrons. This gives us 56. Again, the number of valence electrons in our structure drawn is the same as the predicted or the theory. So we don't have to add any more lone pairs onto this central Zr atom. So this structure is also correct. So in conclusion, this question doesn't really test us much on actually adding the any lone pairs onto Zr, but it's still good practice, and in the test it's probably worth 1 to 2 marks only. Is there anything else I need to cover? Not really. Square brackets, and outside you have your charge. And we'll look at the last question afterwards. Right, thank you.